I pride myself in listening to watcher feedback on this channel. So if people say, hey, why don't you do a thing about series that you think lost their way? No problem. I'll listen to that. I take a vote for what book I should read next. Hey, I do that. When someone says, hey, how about a tour of your bookshelves in your recording studio? I'm like, is that really something that you guys want to see? But you know what? I am a man of the people, so let's do it. The first thing you guys got to realize here is that I do not have a GoPro. I bought a camera that really just turned out to have even worse picture and sound than my iPhone. So I'm doing this from my iPhone. So that's the change in video quality. But this is my home office. It used to be Stephen King themed until I started this channel, and I tried to make it a little more bookish for more than just King. But this will probably be a mess, you guys. So deal with me here. I'm not used to anybody coming here except my kids and my wife. And even they're kind of restricted in many ways. So let's come on in. I'm really bad at dusting, you guys. So please excuse any dust. This is the workspace. Yes, big Beatles Led Zeppelin fan. So you're going to see plenty of that here. If you're one of those people who are like, oh, they're overrated, lose my number. Because I don't go for that. Yes, that is a map of Skyrim. I was very, very big into Skyrim when it was released. Still kind of am, honestly. I've been into Game of Thrones even before it was a series, so when the TV series started making actual merchandise, I could not help but just eat a lot of it up. So I did that. And there's a bunch of useless media there. My Enterprise that I gave to my kid and ended up selling back. My only Astros championship ring because they blew it. My Beatles and Marble glasses, my cigars. Yes, I smoke cigars because I'm just stupid like that. But this is what you guys want to see. You guys want to see the books. Let's look at the art first. That is Shalon Devar from the Stormlight Archive, signed by Lord Ruler Brandon Sanderson himself. Love that art. This obviously is a mural to Stephen King and several of his very famous villains. Sorry about the overhead light, didn't realize it'd be that bright. My Wheel of Time poster, even before I read that series, I always loved that logo. I always said it looked like a medieval fantasy Mickey Mouse. And of course, Dune. My favorite book of all time. And that's a good place to start. Let's start with the soft cover and paperback shelf. Here is my collector's edition of Dune, and all of the new re-releases that replace my paperbacks I've had since I was very, very young. I couldn't bear to get rid of them though. So I just made space for both of them. Some of my newer ones. Motley Crue The Dirt is probably the most fun I've ever had reading a book in my life. It's one of those, if you watch a Netflix movie, you know that it's insane. It's a little bit crazy. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is something that I actually like to revisit soon with my kids. I haven't actually read Belgariad, but I got these nice little beat up versions here from a friend, and he just said, keep them until you read them. So I said, all right, they're gonna sit on my shelf for a while. Just got The Black Company, working on The Witcher. I'm 2 books into The Witcher. I haven't started the R. Scott Baker's Prince of Nothing series yet, but I've heard mixed to positive on that. And of course, The Hobbit. Everybody should read The Hobbit. And I've done several videos on all of my Star Wars stuff. Just a little bit of a fan. I'm telling you guys, the Star Wars EU, the original EU, was the Marvel Cinematic Universe before it was a thing, and I stick by that. And what I mean by that is that you know, they had the one overarching vision, and then they let new people come in and kind of say, hey, here's where we're going, you get us there. I kind of felt like that because it was all new authors mostly. I mean, they revolved around, but mostly new authors, and they just kept on adding to the story. You know, there were some misses, but there were a lot of hits in there. And then, of course, the Malazan, which I haven't done yet. It just always just looks at me and just taunts me and bullies me. And of course, To Kill a Mockingbird. To Kill a Mockingbird's a fantastic book. Catcher in the Rye, mixed. Kind of mixed thoughts. I get some crap about this one, starting over here. About this Gone with the Wind stuff is people are like, oh, guys can't like Gone with the Wind. Look, you don't grow up in Atlanta, Georgia, and not have interest in Civil War history. And you don't have interest in Civil War history without eventually getting into watching Gone with the Wind. And if you watch Gone with the Wind, you think, hey, this is just a spectacular bit of filmmaking, especially when you consider that it came out. You go back and you discover the book. Wife got me these music boxes back when San Francisco Music Company used to make them. So again, like I said, I get teased by guy friends and say, "Oh yeah, nice Barbie collection," shit like that. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. This here is the oldest book in my collection. I want to say it's a printing from like the 1940s. I don't know. I'm too scared to actually open it. I'm afraid it'll just fall apart. Brother got that for me years ago, and this is the one that I'll actually read. Okay, so here's where I'm just kind of left some space open for going along. The Real Robin Hood stories, those are good. Neil deGrasse Tyson, I haven't actually read it yet. I went and saw him in person, a seminar he did, and they were kind of giving that book away with the purchase. So I haven't actually been in the mood to read a book about physics, right now. But it was a good show. These are the books that are too big to fit on a coffee table, or I don't want to put them on the coffee table downstairs because the kids will probably destroy them. So. This one was where I was trying to get my kid into reading books that were, mostly words. And I thought Star Wars was a good way to start. And yeah, it didn't really click for him. So, hey, it came in here with me. Then you moving on up. These are some of more of my prestigious collections here. H.P. Lovecraft collection, H.G. Wells collection. Very, very good stuff. If you haven't read Lovecraft, man, you're doing yourself a disservice. He is phenomenal, especially when you consider when this stuff was written. The Millennium Trilogy, also known as the Dragon Tattoo Trilogy. I've only read the first book. I've read all of the Harry Potters numerous times. Don't care. Don't care! I've talked on this channel plenty of times about the inheritance cycle and how I don't understand why people give it so much shit, but then again, I've never been able to get past the second book, so maybe that's why. Ender's Game, I think, is one of the best books of all time. One of my, couple of my book haul videos, I've talked about the Conan, the Robert E. Howard books, so that's those. Then you get all of the Robert Jordan goodies. Tracking down all of these on hardcover. While I think it was easier now than it would have been if the show turns out to be a big mega hit, it was not easy and it was not cheap to get some of those earlier ones. Like, I don't even want to talk about how much I paid for Great Hunt and Dragon Reborn on hardcover. Eye of the World was one of those cases where somebody had something that they didn't know what it was worth and they were selling it really dirt cheap. Because I'd say out of the 15 books, including New Spring, I think 11 of them are first editions. So very, very happy with that. Even though they're so heavy, I don't think that I actually really read from them a lot. I read from the ebook version. Moving along, this is the Stephen King shelf. All Stephen King. Everything he has ever written, I have on hardcover. Many of them are first editions. None of them are signed, sadly. I went to a signing of his years and years and years ago, and they were like, when I got there that morning, they were like, if you didn't camp out for a week, you weren't getting in there. So here's Christine. Everything, really happy with that matching Dark Tower set. And you got Carrie White there. I don't really do the Funko Pop collecting thing, but I figured for this, yeah, it's King stuff. I need some more King merchandise. I hate that they made this size. So stupid. Oh yeah, some of these are actually some book club editions that I'd like to upgrade eventually and haven't quite gotten to it yet. Like the Firestarter one there, Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon one. It's one of those things, it's like you like all your hardcovers to be the original edition and they all fit in uniform, look nice on your shelf, but that's just something not in my budget right now and there's so much other stuff I want to buy. The new Pennywise. I used to have the old Tim Curry Pennywise, but kids destroyed it. Kids, they're awesome, aren't they? Good old Jack Torrance. I'm actually surprised a lot of these that I got, that I bought used are in such good condition when they're, first edition. Like this Pet Sematary, yeah, it's a book club edition. It's beat the hell up, but it's from like 1983. Yeah. So some of them I just can't bear to get rid of. And I don't think I will. I think I'll do like the Dune, paperbacks, where if I replace them with the actual one, I'll still keep the book club edition just because a lot of them are first editions. And the cup I got when I went, so yeah, chapter 2. So yeah, that's all the it stuff. And here's an empty shelf. Probably won't be for long. Anne Rice, I talked about it being a blessing and a curse, where you can be in and out on a series and you still keep buying them just to keep the collection complete. So yes, I bought Blood Communion this year. Have no intention to read it. I have not actually read since Merrick. That's all the way over here. So yeah, you can tell that. She even brought Lestat back real big now, and I'm still not reading these. The Demon Cycle books, which I still contest, are super underrated. I don't know why they don't get more traction on the channel when I talk about them, but I don't know. I think they're fantastic. I'm only 2 out of the 5 done, so maybe it just gets bad. But a lot of people sound like they were out after the first book. I mean, I thought the first 2 were just a hoot. I had a great time. All my Song and Ice and Fire stuff. No, this space right here is not hoping for George ever put out something else. It's just because I couldn't find anything else to fit there, and I wanted to put my Dire Wolf here. Kids knock this over every time they come in because, well, if you aren't getting the theme of this here, kids can be jerks. So. Yes, comment away about how Mike hates this book, but yet he still got them all on the shelf, because I'm just going to do that thing where I read it until I love it. Just going to take my medicine. I'm about halfway done with Loch Lamora right now. I'll save that for the weekly update on what I'm thinking. And of course, the Lightbringer series was just finished, the signed edition of the Night Angel trilogy by Brent Weeks. I'm kind of a recent fan of Brent Weeks. I wasn't really crazy about Night Angel when I first read it. I kind of bailed after the first book. A friend of mine really carried on about Lightbringer, about how good it was, and then I read Black Prism and Plain Knife. Thought they were 2 of the best fantasy books I had ever read. Then Broken Eye and I kind of went downhill there. But I'm hearing mixed to positive on the final book, which just came out, a couple weeks ago. But I said I needed a break because that's like 1,000 pages on hardcover. It's 400,000 words. Might need a little break. I was a late arriver to Pierce Brown's Red Rising books, but I love them. I did not care that much for the very first book. The second book, which I did a review for, it was one of the best science fiction books I've ever read, and Morningstar is really good. I'm working on Iron Gold right now. What I do if I'm reading something that's fantasy, I like to kind of counterbalance it with some science fiction or horror. So I'm reading Liza Lockmore and Iron Gold at the same time right now, and I'm really liking it. It's really good. And Dark Age just came out this year. These are all signed. I got these all signed when we went and saw him in Austin earlier this year. Great dude. Really, really down to earth and cool to talk to. And he took time to talk to everybody. It was really awesome. You got to have Tolkien and you got to have Lewis together, right? So yeah, here's my one ring. Just a really cool pendant from J.R.R. Tolkien in Elvish. Really cool. That Silmarillion edition's pretty old. So you can see the condition there's average. And then you got the Sanderson and Abercrombie shelf. I was arguing with someone the other day. He was saying that Mistborn was too YA for him. I said I felt like it was kind of PG-13. I wouldn't really call it YA, but it's a very good gateway into Brandon Sanderson. And then when you're ready to graduate to higher learning, that's when you get into Stormlight Archive, and those books will change your life a little bit if you're open to something like that. And then I can't say enough about Joe Abercrombie. He was my favorite fantasy author working today. Have not read these yet because they are YA, and you guys know how I feel about YA. I know Joe Abercrombie doing YA is probably like Stephen King doing YA, where it's going to be better than most YA authors' best work. I just haven't gotten to it yet. I redid all the First Law books this year, leading up to A Little Hatred. This is signed too. So that's the short and skinny of it. So guys, thanks for checking out my domain with me. I hope it was entertaining for you. I could talk about the books on that shelf for quite a long time, but I didn't want this video to get really just overly long or anything like that. So thanks for checking out my room with me, and if there is any updates, I don't know right now if I'm going to be adding too much more, but I don't imagine a time will ever come when I just stop buying books completely. So I'll talk to you guys soon.